Greetings, everyone. I just wanted to make a brief comment on today's gospel. Today, that being the 15th of September. Um, and it really made me think because the gospel was all about Jesus essentially saying those who want to keep their lives need to drop everything in this world and follow him, right? And it made me realize that actually, honestly, I think most Catholics, if not almost all Catholics, do not do that. And I should probably include myself in that, I'm not going to be arrogant and pretend I'm not one of them. We don't give up our lives fully for Jesus. I think the only Catholics really who we could probably honestly say do that are priests who, as well as making a vow of obedience, make a vow of chastity and a vow of poverty, and they actually follow Christ. They actually serve him. They give up all the pleasantries of the world and essentially give their lives to Christ in this world so that they can spend eternal happiness with him and God the Father in heaven. And of course all the other saints and so on. But I think most people don't do that. Most Catholics, even if they appear to be good Catholics, they go to church and they are nice people and they do nice things for others, I think they still have that kind of, let's call it insurance policy, where they kind of still gather some things in this world and they like to have a nice house if they can and go on holidays regularly if they can and eat delicious foods, etc., etc. Almost as if they are saying, look, I believe in all this, but just in case it isn't true, because I haven't actually seen evidence of this, I just believe it. I do want to kind of enjoy this life a little bit, because if it happened not to be true, even though I think it probably is, but if it happened not to be true, then I kind of would have wasted this life if I didn't enjoy it in some way. Somebody like Ben Shapiro, and I don't mean to pick on him, but I just think he's a great example. And I know he's not a Catholic, but he is someone who I look at and think, you have an insurance policy. Like, you are an Orthodox Jewish guy, you believe in God, you follow the rules of your Judaism, but it doesn't hurt to make a few $1 million a year from your Daily Wire company and have a pretty comfortable, good life. Just in case, And I get it. I know when people have families, they need to take care of them. When a man has a wife and children, he needs to take care of his family. And that involves, making some money and having some material things because they need certain things. They need a roof over their heads and they need food, etc. But I do think that there comes a point where somebody has so much, millions and millions of dollars, where you think, do you really need that? Like, do your family need that? Or is it just now becoming sort of luxury and comfort? And that initial, needing money just so your family can have the things they need, the essentials, becomes, well, actually, now you're doing things that you really don't need. And that makes me wonder. And I know maybe he's not the best example. Maybe I could use an example of someone else from the Daily Wire who's a Catholic, like maybe Michael Knowles. Pretty sure he's making millions of dollars as well. That's the one little downside I have to the Daily Wire, is I think generally it's a good thing. Like, the content there is good. And, I'm glad that they're making movies that are sort of not liberal like a lot of movies are now. And I don't know if they've started this yet, but I know that they were going to. Maybe it's already started, do like cartoons as well for children, ones that parents don't have to worry about and think, oh, what kind of ideologies are they pushing there? They want to do just decent, normal, family-friendly cartoons. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of there. But, of course, in all that happening, they are also making millions of dollars a year. So they are getting pretty darn rich from it. And that's like the little kind of, like, you're doing good things, but you're also making sure you have a pretty good material life. Some people might disagree with me. They might think, so what? They're doing their jobs and they're doing good work, and so what if they make a lot of money? Fair enough, you could think that, but I think certainly from the Christian perspective, there's a danger there of, how much money do you need before it starts to become, okay, now you're just making far in excess of what you need, and maybe you're concentrating a little bit too much on profit here. But that was one thing I wanted to mention. When it comes to Catholics, Christians, I genuinely don't think that a lot of Christians, and I said I include myself in this, are really fully prepared to give up everything for God. But the other thing I wanted to mention, this was in the New Testament reading that was also in Mass today, was this idea of faith, and essentially faith without works being dead. Because I know that a lot of Protestants like to point out the passage in Scripture that talks about by faith alone we are saved, and they really harp on that. And they say, no, your works are meaningless. It's all about having faith in Jesus. If you have faith, you're saved. And that's why a lot of Protestants, and I don't want to do a blanket statement, a blanket sweep here, a lot of Protestants, there are possibly Protestants who don't think like this, but a lot of Protestants, particularly a lot of street preachers I've seen, they'll be out there preaching and they'll say, like, you know, believe in Jesus and you'll be saved. And then they talk about how they're saved already and you can be saved as well. Like the fact that they believe already makes them saved. Now, the trouble is, I actually don't think they understand what it means to believe. I get the feeling that they think believing means if you believe truly that Jesus is who he says he is, and, you know, he died for us and he rose again, etc., then that's enough to save you. And no matter what you do in life, as long as you believe that in your head, then that's enough. Whereas I think really, if you do whatever you want in life, then even if you may think in your head that you believe that, you don't. You clearly don't, because you're not living in the way that Jesus would have wanted you to live, or that Jesus wants you to live now, because he's still here with us, right? The way that God the Father wants you to live, you're not doing that. If you're going, yeah, I believe in Jesus and, you know, I can sin regularly and it doesn't really matter because I believe I'm saved. No, you don't believe because you're not living in any way to show that you believe. It's like somebody saying they love somebody and then they don't do anything that shows they love them at all. They don't do anything for them. And then you ask them, yeah, I love them. Well, you say you do, but you're clearly not showing it. You're clearly not living like you do. So therefore works are important. I kind of feel like faith and works are connected, and some people don't understand that. They just think that faith is a separate thing to works. And your works, sure, it's good to do good things, but essentially it doesn't really matter because it's your faith that matters. Well, no, because your works show your faith, right? If I say, yeah, I believe in Jesus, and I actually do, but then I just treat people terribly and I'm lazy and I don't do anything and I use bad language and I do all kinds of awful things, how could I possibly say I believe? It's almost like a slap in the face to Jesus saying, yeah, I believe in you, but all these things, all this guidance you gave us about how to live, I don't really care about that. What kind of belief is that? So that was the second point I wanted to make. I know sometimes I ramble on, but I was actually going to do a video about something else today, and then I just sat there in mass and it made me think of these couple of things I wanted to mention. So yeah, thanks for watching. Give me your thoughts. Do you agree that works and faith are kind of related? Like you can't really have faith and not do the works, because then that shows you don't really have faith. And what about the other thing? Do you think I'm being a bit harsh saying that people who make a lot of money in some way don't fully give themselves to Christ, don't give their lives to Christ? Or do you think there's something to that? Like, of course, we know that in this material world to survive you need to make money, but then there's also a point where you go, okay, you don't need any more now. You have plenty, or if you do have more than you need, an excess of what you need, how about doing some good with that and maybe helping others with it? And I think people who supposedly are devout Christians but yet live quite lavish, luxurious lifestyles have missed the point a little bit. These few decades you have here in this world really are meaningless. They're like a test, right? They're essentially just to see if you love God. He made you, he gave you all these things. Do you love him? Show that you love him. And if you do, you can spend eternity with him in paradise. You don't need any insurance policy. If you really do truly believe, you don't need no insurance policy of like, well, I do love you, but just in case I want to have a nice house. No, it doesn't matter. You don't need that. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a blessed day.